So I think whether you're in Wayra in Bogota in Colombia or in Wayra in London, one of the real strengths of the partnership with Telefónica is just the breadth of Telefónica around the world. So about 21 separate markets and around 300 million customers. That's access to die for. Most startup businesses, would like to have access to a few hundred or a few thousand. In practice, we can offer them access to hundreds of thousands and millions of customers.
So I love Wayra because Wayra provides Telefónica with a whole new perspective in the world. We've got a bunch of keen startups planning their future businesses, and it's in the middle of our big Telefónica ecosystem. And what I love about it is it helps us see the world differently. It brings innovation to our business. It allows us to meet a bunch of partners, a bunch of team members, a bunch of investors that we wouldn't normally come across. And all of that just means we're better off for having it.
What we've seen is, as time has gone on, we keep getting better and better startups. It's not to say that the first ones weren't good, but it's to say that increasingly the very best startups are coming to us because they're realizing that Telefónica has something to offer in terms of scaling that very few other accelerators can offer them, and even very few investors can offer them.
The only way that startups are really going to get into a big corporate is if they have a way in, and people who can find out from their business who's going to make the best difference to their business. So through my contact, because I've worked for 5 years with Telefónica, I have a great network within Telefónica to identify where there might be the best fits. So I can really engage with Telefónica people, bring them into Wayra, and for them to see the best of the startups and how they can best get what they can from these startups, but also give back to these startups. And it's also for Telefónica people, for them to learn what they can from seeing entrepreneurs innovate, how they test things very quickly, they fail cheaply, they pivot, and then they learn and move on.
The first board meeting I went to in November last year, I was sat around the table and I felt really humbled because I was sat there with serial entrepreneurs, investors, people from the world of the deaf and language community, interpretation community, and I was really sitting there quite blown away, and I kind of felt out of my depth in some parts. But when they turned to me for advice on what I was really good at, actually the other people were really taken in by my contribution and my comments. So actually I felt like a really valued member of the team at that point. But it takes all sorts to form a board, I think, and I think it's really good to have the mix.
So I think, to be honest, we've probably gained more than we've given over the last 3 years we've been involved. In particular, we talk about our team's role is to supply 101.7 million businesses with telecoms needs. They can quite often feel like a number until you come into Wayra, you spend some time with them, and you realise that actually starting up a business, trying to acquire customers, trying to recruit people, trying to develop products and propositions is very real and very hand-to-mouth in many ways, and I think it gives us far more empathy with what small businesses are really worried about and excited about.
So Abby and the guys are trying to link us very, very neatly into what TEF can offer us and what we can offer TEF, Telefónica, as a business. So we've been already chatting in quite a lot of detail to the guys over there about how we can work with their Wi-Fi solutions and how we can just make a difference to their offering for retailers around the world.
Yeah, I definitely think that one of the cool things about not being a corporate person myself is seeing how corporate people transform after having been in Wayra. So I do think that there are things that are good about corporates and things that are bad about corporates. And I think that usually what's good about corporates are the scale, the resources, the money, the know-how, access to customers, etc. And our startups get access to all of that via Telefónica.